Thank you guys so much for coming. David is presenting today, and I wanted just to give you guys a little bit of background information about CAP, and then I'm going to introduce David to you. I am the treasurer for CAP. My name is Shari Hartz. I am a hypnotist, so that's my field of study and how I operate in the world. And we all in this organization have people that are different orientations. Sometimes people are licensed psychotherapists in other states and come to Colorado and want to be able to practice. So they come here and they sign up for licensed psychotherapist. Well, the law has changed and we can no longer bring in new unlicensed psychotherapists. So our organization shifted to being mostly educational. And so if you guys are in our field and you would like to join CAP, that would be great. I will pop information into the chat for that, and then also or donate to our organization as well, so that we can continue providing educational information to people like David's talk today.
Yes.
So David is a psychotherapist. He's part of one of our members with CAP, and he's been a psychotherapist since 2010. And he's going to be presenting on a non-logical approach to wellness that evolved from his own experience relating to the history of depression. Um, so that's going to be his focus. Now, there is a request. David would like to request that you put your emails into the chat for us so that we can have that. And he's going to send you a copy of the PowerPoint once you put your information in there. And then I will slide information about our website into the chat as well. Um, all right, David, are you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah.
All right. So if you'd like to go ahead and share your PowerPoint.
Um, I'm sorry, what was that, Shari?
Share your PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody except for David. And then if you guys want to say something, then go ahead and unmute yourself, okay? Or you guys can mute
Let's
yourself.
see. Am I sharing my PowerPoint now?
Not yet.
Not yet. What do I need to do?
Click on the big green
Oh,
share button,
yeah, there we go.
and I'll let you know when I see it.
Okay. I think I'm going to leave it like that somehow. When I go into the full screen,
Whatever works for you, David. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself.
yeah, I just want to welcome you all and thank you for attending. I see I see some people that I know and some new faces, which is always nice to see. This approach evolved out of, as Shari said, my experience with depression. I had a friend who suggested a Buddhist teaching, which is embrace your depression, and that made a lot of sense to me. I had a couple things going for me at the time. One is that I had learned not to take what I had become personally, even my own identity personally, and that kind of seeing myself as a dynamic, the product of phenomena, phenomenological influences. And also, I had learned, somehow knew that if I reacted while I was embracing my depression, or to the extent that I reacted, I would only reinforce the conditioning that was creating my depression. So there I was. As I embraced my depression, I became even more depressed. And but at the same time, I was receiving reflections and awarenesses that were profound, even though I didn't enjoy what I was seeing. It was profound and exhilarating. So I stayed with being depressed. I even looked for ways to make myself look worse than I had originally thought I was, and which made me more depressed. And but the pain of this depression did create awarenesses that I couldn't have experienced under any other circumstance. And anyway, I would pray to the universe for the wisdom to walk through life in this much pain. So enough of that. I woke one morning after 3 months of this, and I wasn't depressed anymore. So that began kind of working backwards. It's like, how did this happen? How was it that without logic, without analysis, um, I suddenly was not depressed? And so it takes us to kind of an overview. As humans became self-aware, we began using thoughts to counteract feelings. This is just my own analysis, my own guess of how this all came about. And then counteracting feelings incorporates the trauma passed down in the collective consciousness from time immemorial. If you notice, we don't have psychotic reindeer, we don't have psychotic bears, but we have psychotic people. And I think it's because we are using our self-awareness to counteract the feelings that created self-awareness. uh, each time we react, we reinforce our tangible and intangible conditioning. Slide 2. Let's see. So what I'm calling non-logical psychology, as we become aware of our reaction, we react less. And as a result, the conditioning, conscious and unconscious, associated with our reaction begins to dissolve. And as a result of that, we move into awarenesses that are beyond our subjective reality. Anything that I might do to feel better about myself, like I might give myself an affirmation or visualization of how I think my life should be. Well, it all comes out of this subjective box, and I'm only just reinforcing my own subjective identity. So I need to get out of my subjective box, and what I'm finding is that these feelings that I have evaded all my life change my chemistry, change my neurology, and change my perception. And my only job is to become conscious that I'm reacting. Noticing, I like the word noticing because it allows awareness impartially. You know, it's it allows awareness about myself while minimizing my reaction to that awareness. So in the past, I would become aware of something I didn't like about myself, and I'd immediately focus on trying to change the thing I didn't like, rather than simply being with what I didn't like and allowing those feelings to penetrate body, mind, change my chemistry, do whatever they need to do, and find out if it's true. If I really am this undesirable aspect of myself. And what I'm finding quite often is that this undesirable aspect is totally irrelevant, and it's a product of historic abuse that I've absorbed over time. So here, uh, this is probably uh, the key proposal or point of the book. If a person is not able to conclude within themselves that nothing is personal to them, they will not be able to observe themselves with ruthless objectivity. And this ruthless objectivity, as I become aware of what I'm not, I actually incorporate the qualities that change me and make me what I see that I'm not, if that makes any sense. So it's essential that I be able to observe myself without flinching and uh, and allow the truth of my being, because I'm a product of a lot of positive as well as a lot of negative influence. Our history, if you think about it, is pretty brutal, incredibly brutal. And it's only in the 20th century that humans have, I think, begun to be self-observant. Prior to that, I think we were pretty reactive. And it seems to me that the way the consciousness is moving is that it's trying to shut down the awarenesses that create individuation and identity. But we can get that's a different subject. One of the things that when I was involved in my depression is that I had to trust that this consciousness that brought me from the inanimate objects to self-awareness was working to my benefit, because I had no sense of that I would ever get out of the depths of, I felt like I was diving to the bottom of the ocean, and everything I became aware of just seemed to take me deeper and deeper. And I've talked with numerous people, and they are scared to death of this phenomena of going deeper and deeper into their depression. So it takes a lot of hand holding to help someone do this, but be evolving beyond a self-reinforcing identity, as I've said before, can't rely on visualization, affirmation, or projection. It cannot come from thoughts or problem solving. You're actually moving into an evolving self, an evolving reality, and it's always a surprise. And it's always, for me, it's in the moment. I can actually see myself evolving now in the moment, and it's always like stepping into a void. And I have to trust that there's something to step on when I step into this void. And the way I trust is to notice that I'm not trusting. Uh, I'm not trusting this, I'm not trusting that, and noticing that how that is interfering with my own evolution into this unknown expansion, which is scary. Our feelings are highly condensed forms of information that affect every protein in our bodies. They are not inconvenient nuisances that we need to avoid and medicate. They are there because of phenomena in our lives, either real or imagined, that need to be related to. And these feelings, if we allow them to uh, penetrate the body mind, as I've said, they change chemistry, they change neurology, they know exactly what to do. And each time I do this, I actually can feel myself, uh, my mental capacity increasing, my recall increasing, uh, stress points coming out of my body. These feelings are just incredibly profound elements of consciousness. As we experience our feelings without reacting, the conditioning creating them begins to dissolve and new perceptions arise. So I've got some homework for you. This is actually one of my own exercises. I used to beat myself up mercilessly. And one day I just noticed that I was just beating the crap out of myself for making a mistake that I didn't know was an error at the time I made it. And I thought, isn't that interesting that that I hate me? And uh, and so I just stayed with that. And 2, 3 days later, I was still beating myself up. I was like, Dave, how long are you going to do this? And a week went by, 2 weeks went by, and at some point, about 6 weeks later, I did something really dumb, and I realized that I wasn't beating myself up. I was just learning from my mistake. So it seemed like it took 6 weeks. I mean, I seem to have tracked it for 6 weeks, that I was still not letting myself off the hook. Uh, but I may have stopped somewhere in that period. But it was just interesting to make this obvious blunder and then realize, you're not beating yourself up. So That's the homework I want to give to you if you have this tendency to self-flagellate, because it just interferes with self-awareness and growing and learning from mistakes, and it just perpetuates the abuse that everyone is under. Um, if this is an approach you'd like to incorporate into your therapy practice, you have to support a 180-degree cultural shift towards impartially embracing feelings and identifying reactions instead of diffusing them. Awareness comes from feelings, and change comes from awareness. It doesn't come from affirmations, visualizations, suggestions, uh, and the like. It doesn't come from thinking, actually. We didn't become who we are from thinking and from logic. Um, and uh, and we can't change who we are from thinking and logic. It has to be an organic process. And uh, and our consciousness knows what change we need given our particular dynamic, and we do not. I mean, we can't. It's just too complex to figure out, and we just what we do is we just tie up mental capacity, uh, trying to avoid, trying to make ourselves change and trying to fulfill our self-image. Support neutrality and reflective self-observation. Relate to the awarenesses that arise. There will be new awarenesses, and incorporate the perception change. The benefits of non-logical therapy promotes a selfish motive for being truthful. Observe yourself evolving in real time, increasing creativity. Move toward a state of continuous presence. Dissolve self-defeating beliefs and conditioning. Lasting positive change without effort or intention. Resolve inherited trauma for yourself and future generations. Organic change tailored to your dynamics. You bypass subjective reality. It gets you out of your box. It gives direction. It always presents a surprising change of perception, increasing identity, courage, maturity, emotional stability, understanding, wisdom, and a host of attributes that exist in realms beyond words. So I'd like to open this up to discussion if anyone has any thoughts or um, reflections about their own lives or how this may apply or not. Anyone have anything to share?
David, can you tell us, as you were doing this practice and just really being with your feelings, not trying to fix them, was that just terrifying?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Was it like feeling like you're going down a hole and you'll never come back out?
Yeah. I was being taken somewhere and I didn't know where and it didn't look good.
Was it kind of suicidal-ish? Did it have a suicidal type of
It was kind of masochistic.
masochistic?
Yeah. But the reflections that I was receiving about my life were really profound and exhilarating. I mean, so profound that I wanted to stay in this state. It kind of kept me in this state. And
And I take it you didn't you couldn't desire that estate, that you couldn't just imagine that new estate. You had to go through the pain of it, right?
yeah, I
Or
wanted,
the sitting with it or whatever.
yeah, and I really wanted to know the truth. I felt totally worthless, kind of like my skin was garbage. Um, and I really wanted to know the truth. Am I garbage? I mean, I really had a low self-esteem. And and I knew that if I counteracted it and said, no, I can see I'm not garbage, I got a college degree, I've got this, I've got that, I've got a good job. Um, I would only reinforce this in core belief, this inherent belief that I am garbage, because I wouldn't be trying to prove that I was not garbage unless I thought that I was. So I had to stay with the belief and the feeling. And
So, David, you were saying were you a psychotherapist and depressed, and you were looking for how to improve uh, your life? Is this after you became a psychotherapist?
this was before. This was,
Before, and
yeah.
then you became a psychotherapist. Was hypnotism part of it? Because I know Shari said that she's a hypnotist. Is that part of you know, of what you had to go through?
No, I did not do hypnosis. I've been hypnotized and had suggested positive suggestions. Um, I had this, I got conditioned to not go to sleep. And so for 70 years, I had a very hard time, just horrible time sleeping. All through college, I would go for 6 weeks, 8 weeks without sleeping. And then one day, a friend suggested that it sounds like you go hyper vigilant when it's time to go to sleep. And I thought, wow, that's really true. And I walked with that for probably 3 months. It seems like 3 months is my time period for working through. Well, suggestions and visualizations and affirmations would only interfere with my getting in touch, making connection with this trauma, essential trauma that was keeping me awake at night. And once I incorporated that, and that probably took a year or two or three, but I could immediately begin sleeping better. And now I sleep really well. But so I think suggestions. I think suggestive therapy is quite possibly interferes with the processing of what's really going on. I mean, I think anything that I do to counteract my reality reinforces my reality, if that makes any sense. And but if I sit, but my consciousness, it's creating these sensations and feelings, and it's doing it for a profound reason. And these feelings, I mean, I had to study epigenetics when I was writing this book, and feelings affect every protein in our bodies. I mean, this is a conclusion I'm getting from epigenetics, but what they've been able to study is the stress uh, cortisone are receptors for the stress hormone uh, increase under stress or decrease under stress. I'm trying to remember which way it goes, but if you take a stressed mother rat and she has pups, well, those pups will grow up to be stressed pups. But if you take one of the pups and give it to an unstressed rat to nourish, that pup becomes a pup that deals with stress very well. Um, these feelings are just so dense and so complex. I once I once wrote a poem. I have it in my book that it came to me in about a 300th of a second. It took me 45 minutes to write it down, but it came as a feeling. Um, and I just don't think, for me to say, Larry, you need to relax. Listen to some soothing music. Well, that's just me assuming that it's simplifying something that's incredibly complex that's going on inside Larry. Um, and I have no idea what it is because, I mean, there are probably, I would say an infinite, but maybe infinite is too large, but it's just an incredible complexity of influences that are now conditioned and self-reinforced and tied to Larry not relaxing. And so if I play you nice, soothing music, all I'm doing is taking you away from this process that is working overtime to deal with why Larry can't relax, if that makes any sense. So this consciousness knows what the hell it's doing. I don't. You know, eh, it brought me from grains of sand to self-awareness. And now all of a sudden, because I'm self-aware, it's like, okay, consciousness, I know what to do from here, you know.
Is this similar to spiritual bypassing? In other words, I bypass my depression or my anxiety by putting on soothing music. That's just bypassing, allowing myself to be with
Yeah, thank you,
my
Kurt.
stress.
Yeah,
Is that so? It's similar in that regard, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so it's almost like those who go to whatever it is that gives them relief is only just delaying the inevitable healing.
Yeah, I think it's delaying it and it's adding another level of complexity that now consciousness has to work through. How are we doing on time? We still have 20 minutes. No,
Um,
yeah.
uh, David, some of what you say reminds me of Buddhism, of the various teachings in Buddhism, and I'm wondering if you've analyzed Buddhism and made a compare and contrast between what you're saying and things in Buddhism.
You're wondering if I analyze Buddhism?
What's the compare and contrast between what you're saying and the things that Buddhists will tell you about how to become aware and to sort of heal through enlightenment somehow, you know?
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Um, I think I'd say that the only thing that's really different, for example, I hear Buddhists describing a state of being that you will experience when you uh, have achieved nirvana or whatever, enlightenment. And so everyone pursues that state of being, which only keeps them from enlightenment because we're each unique and we each have incredibly unique things to work through. I mean, it's more spiritual bypassing, if that can be so bold to say that. What I've done, the, what I've found is that noticing what I'm not, being able to not take things personally and to say, David, you weren't very courteous, when, you talked to that person. Well, just noticing that I wasn't very courteous makes me, that much more courteous. Um, Noticing that I wasn't present. I drove for 30 minutes down the road and I was nowhere to be found. Makes me that much more present. And so this ability to impartially see what I'm not moves me towards the thing that I'm not. Um, and as I become what I'm not, I find myself having increased um, mental ability, uh, and consideration. But Buddhism has this loving kindness, practice loving kindness. And the way to practice loving kindness is not to practice loving kindness, but to see how you are not loving and how you are not kind. And quite often the practice of loving kindness becomes what's the word for it?
Well, it's detached from like what you actually are. It's an ideal. It's an ideal held as a sort of perfect way things ought to be, right? And then,
Yeah.
like, but but it's not. It's like not, maybe like if you can't deliver that ideal, it's because you are detached from that image of what you ought to be, and therefore, um, because I think some Buddhists would 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 argue that they don't want to force people to be loving kindness, you know, um, that like somehow the loving kindness is supposed to be like the natural thing that occurs if you achieve enlightenment to begin with, maybe, you know, um, and maybe what you're saying is more in line with that. It's more in line with um, by by maintaining persistent awareness, um, you do transform somehow into the Buddhist ideal. Although you're not calling it the Buddhist ideal, but it does strike me as there being some similarities.
Thank you. I think there are, and I think you're right that I think in order, if a person just noticed, I suspect that if a person just noticed that they were not present, that they were projecting, that they would become increasingly gentle and kind and understanding and all the things. I mean, just take that one trait. I think it would have a profound multidimensional effect on them and probably all of humanity. I don't think if a person would be present and to what they're doing and the effects of what they're doing, that it would result in greater cruelty. I think it would result in greater care. But that's just my guess.
Sometimes, David, it seems like, you know, uh, are you talking about wanting to change yourself with things that you know you'd like to be better at? I mean, you can compare the Grinch or Scrooge. They weren't liked, but maybe they were successful in what they were doing. But now they want to change, and all of a sudden uh, they become likable, giving away, money or trying to make themselves more popular because nobody cares about them. Is this something that you're talking about? What is it about yourself that you realize that you would like to change, as opposed to necessarily being depressed or something, as far as that goes?
Uh, yeah, I'm not quite sure I understand, but
Well,
so
if you're retired, you've had a successful career, you have people, family that, likes you or something, are you looking at other parts of yourself being impatient or uh, raging or something like that that you want to change about yourself. Otherwise, why are you looking uh, inside yourself if overall you don't feel that you're depressed, but there are things about yourself you would like to improve?
Yeah, there are continual things that I find that I do not like about myself. Um, and that I think that's motivation enough. You know, quite what happens is, for example, a man comes home, he's had a busy day, the wife says something that reminds him of what he's been working all his life to counteract, you know, like I'm not good enough or whatever. And she says something that triggers that I'm not good enough belief that he's been counteracting all his life by being a good provider, being successful in business and in school, and he lashes out at her, you know, and he has this emotional reaction that harms the relationship. So now he feels sad, you know, and he feels regret. And so he immediately goes to his wife and apologizes, brings her a big bouquet of roses, and takes her out to dinner. And she finally forgives him. And he takes a deep breath and says, "Wow, I've I've escaped losing my wife, and I've repaired the relationship, and everything's back to normal." Well, he hasn't dealt with his reaction. He hasn't dealt with this "I'm not good enough" belief. And so what's going to happen is he's going to lash out at her again at some point in the future. And this time it may destroy the relationship. So what I'm trying to do is present a way for people to see these red flags, that reactions are always unconscious, and we have to bring them to awareness. I mean, I remember harming a relationship and then thinking, what did I do? How did I do that? And then I reacted. Oh, what did I react to? Oh, it was such and such. Oh, you know, and then staying with that such and such, and then noticing that someone else said something and I didn't react. And I thought, improvement, you know. So we're down to about 4 minutes. Let me just bring up this last slide. What I've talked about is really just touching the high points of this book. So if you're interested, read The Inner Space Traveler. I'm sorry I don't have it on audio yet. That'll be my next project. Please make sure I have a copy of your email so that I can make you aware of future training events. If you uh, let's see, Shari has the uh, training events at coloradopsychotherapist.org, and then I've got the YouTube down here. I was not able to, for some reason, it just wouldn't print out any bigger. But there's a YouTube channel for the Colorado Association of Psychotherapists to review this this training event. And any last thoughts anyone would like to share?
I did put a link to David's book on Amazon in the chat. So if that's something you're interested in, that would be great. And let me see if I can copy and paste in the YouTube channel there for you on a larger scale here. Okay, I got a couple email addresses in there, but if you guys would like, it'd be great to have David be able to connect with you in the future. And then
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and post our website in there again.
All right. Great. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate
Thank you,
it.
David. Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you.
David.
Yeah.
You know, David, real quick, it seems like this is my takeaway. I got just, it's weird. It's kind of like I do one thing, I bypass by entertaining myself one way. Then I beat myself up again for not doing all that I wanted to do. So I'm going back and forth. But the fact that I'm beating myself up, okay, I need to stay with that
Yeah.
and allow that to really just feel it.
Yeah.
Just feel it, feel it, feel it. Where I've really been using lots of bypass, spiritual bypass, all kinds of other things to not really allow the change.
Yeah. 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 Just change comes from awareness, and it's not. It's the. It's not the awareness that the society says, which is not education. It's these feelings that have profound awareness that we don't really know how to interpret. Consciousness knows how to interpret it, and just be curious. You know, isn't it interesting that Kirk hates himself for spiritual bypassing? You know, isn't that interesting? And then allow these feelings to do what they need to do to body mind, and without reacting. The reaction of bypassing, uh, each time we react, we reinforce our conditioning. So by not reacting, or just noticing that I did react, allows me to react that much less next time and next time, until the conditioning that's creating this self-hatred dissolves. It'll dissolve, or you'll find out that you really are a son of a bitch, you know, but either way.
Okay.
I want to make sure
Thank you,
everybody's
David.
okay being on camera. Is that okay? Everybody's okay
Okay.
being on camera because this does get posted on YouTube.
Okay.
And one more thing I was going to say to you that isn't that interesting is a great statement of non-judgment. It's just a statement of recognition. So isn't that interesting that you're having that experience? Isn't that interesting that I'm having that experience? I'm not judging it. I'm just acknowledging it. And I think there's a different place for acknowledging it versus going around it or trying to hide from it or move away from it. It's just like, okay, well, isn't that interesting that I'm having this experience right now? No judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Anything else you guys need?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.